Looks like I got everybody. Could I have a motion to resume open session? Sarah moves. Marcy seconds. All in favor? Okay, back to open session. Thank you. First Selectman's report, a couple of things. So some of you may be aware that in addition to the Pear Tree Point Beach project, which is still under consideration and we're working to get bid documents finalized for that, there was a dredging project associated with it. And it's dredging around sort of the top where the boat ramp is over to about 10 o'clock, if you will, on a clock around the boat club. In addition to that, there was a proposed dredging effort separate from that to dredge Darien Harbor. Both those spots had gotten some accumulation of sediment over the years, and it was time to consider dredging them just so that we can maintain our coastal boating community. And anyway, what I wanted to report on was that the sediment testing has come back for the Darien Boat Club part of the dredging, and that sediment will need to be pulled out, dewatered, and shipped because the contaminants in that sediment now exceed the state standards for what's permissible. But the good news is that the same tests that were done for the Darien Harbor, which goes out beyond the boat club, those came back actually clean. And so that means that when the dredging is done, that sediment can actually be put on a barge and dumped into Long Island Sound safely. So that's very good news. That means that that dredging project will be much less expensive than it would have been otherwise. So the dredging work is actually being pretty carefully overseen. And what we're going to do is move forward now that we have this information to try and get bids on both those projects. The boat club and the harbor dredging, they are going to be separate, but there could be some economies of scale if we can get those two projects done at the same time. They may not be concurrent, but one thing we're thinking about is whether the two projects can be bid at the same time. And the reason for that is that the permitting for the boat club dredging is a lot fresher, if you will, and is already in place, whereas we have a bit of time to get the Pear Tree or the harbor dredging finalized. So we're going to try to get the same company to do a bid for both projects, even though they'll be sequenced, and looking forward to saving some money on that. But that was very good news about Darien Harbor. Another thing to mention is that the police department, in conjunction with the Darien Schools District, has launched an effort to improve safety with regard to e-bikes and e-scooters. And I actually have here on my desk a copy of a pamphlet or a brochure that was recently developed. I spent some time on it, as did the school district. But this pamphlet that comes back up here, this is being distributed to businesses and to schools around town, and basically has an overview of e-bike laws with regard to both scooters and bicycles. And so these are being distributed. I believe actually this Friday there's going to be a session at the middle school to talk about the importance of these rules with an eye towards improving safety of these bikes around town. So more to come on all this, but one thing I do know is that thanks to Heights Pizza over on Post Road, they have worked with the police to come up with a program such that when police see youngsters on these e-bikes or scooters and they're following the rules that are laid out in this brochure, they could get a coupon for a free slice of pizza. There's no teenager in the world that will turn that down. So I appreciate both the police commission as well as the department and the Board of Education and the superintendent for spending time on this. Safety for something like this is pretty important, and I think we've got a really good first step to really promote safe practices and following the rules on these devices. Last thing I'll mention is that I've had a couple of meetings with Jeff Capeci. He is the first selectman in Newtown, Connecticut. I actually took part of a day to go up and visit with him in Newtown. He sits on the board of what's called Westcog, which is our sort of form of county government. And so I've made it a point to spend some time reaching out to the first selectmen just to see how they run their towns and what we could learn from that and what their circumstances are. Last Thursday, he actually came here to Darien to visit our town hall and get a sense for how we do things. I can't tell you what a great thing it was just to share perspectives with him, see how their work is done, how their committees function, what sort of issues they have in town. Newtown is a great place, but we've got a lot of advantages here in Darien. And I learned a lot by talking to Jeff, but I'm going to try to do that with multiple first selectmen in our region, with an eye towards getting as many different best practices as I can to try to communicate those here in town. I'll be summarizing some of the things I learned from these other executives in due course, but started that process last week. And over the course of the coming months, I'll try to do more of that as time permits to see what they do in other towns. So copying is bad in school, but when you're out of school, copying is really good. So I intend to plagiarize best practices from other towns as aggressively as I possibly can. So thank you to Jeff. It was a great visit, and it was great to have him down here in Darien. So that's all I've got for the first selectman's report. Board liaison reports. Anything for you today, Marcy?
Mental health task force met last Tuesday, and we're going over some programming for the spring and going into the summer. Certainly, Allie was pitching our QPR training, which she will be hosting another QPR training, I think, coming up in May. As soon as the date it gets solidified, we'll make sure that we get that out in the newsletter. The other big event that's coming up is our Out of the Darkness walk that the Darien High School has hosted for the last 3 years. That is actually this Sunday. You can attend whether you registered or don't register, but if you would like to register, you can do that online. Hopefully, we can get that out in the newsletter as well. I definitely know that it's been pitched throughout the school systems, and any of the superintendent notices that you guys have gotten have got that in it. But registration is at 11 o'clock. It's at Darien High School. Walk starts, I think, at 11:30. It should be a beautiful event, commemorating many of those that we've lost in community due to suicide, and then certainly helping fight the battle against mental health disorders. So please attend if you're able to. It's a beautiful event. Many of our partners will be attending. And lots of kids and lots of teams are going to be participating. So already Darien has raised over $10,000 to go towards suicide prevention, which is phenomenal. And that number just keeps going up every hour. So it's a huge cause. It's a great organization that we've been affiliated with for the last 4 years, something near and dear to my heart. So I certainly appreciate the community and their outreach to this organization.
Fantastic. Thank you. Monica?
Great Island hasn't met since the last Board of Selectmen meeting, but we are meeting on Wednesday, and we have a change of rooms. So for anybody listening, we will be in 206 for just that one meeting on Wednesday. And if you look at the agenda online, you'll see there's also a Zoom option. So that meeting starts at 7 o'clock. We will have a Zoom only meeting on May 7th. And May 17th is the next community engagement session. And May 20th, George Knight, who's from Knight Architecture and working with Reed Hildebrand, will be at the library giving a lecture on the historical building of the island. And that's being put together by GIAC and the Museum of Darien and the library. So that's May 20th. Okay.
George is pretty enthusiastic about this, right? This is, I mean,
yeah, he is. Yes, he is looking forward to doing this, and I am sure we'll learn a lot. I was surprised at how many people were at the library for the baking soda talk, and looking forward to a good turnout again. Thanks.
Yeah, that's great. As somebody who really likes that kind of history, I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be fun. Sarah?
So our next HHR meeting is this week, Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Zoom. It is the regular meeting link. If anyone needs it, I'm happy to distribute it. There is no additional update for the Thriving Youth Darien. John, you were looking for a date for I think a tour as far as to let people
Is
know.
there a town officials or even public tour of some of the HHR work that's ongoing? Is that scheduled or?
So that's a lovely idea. And I don't have a date, and I don't know if there was a discussion with some other folks about that. So I'll go find out and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, yeah, maybe bring it up at the meeting. It'd be interesting to see where all that stands. Okay. All right, Jennifer, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay. All right, new business. Discuss and take action on a resolution authorizing the issuance of refunding bonds in an amount not to exceed $154,865,000. Jennifer.
This is a resolution that we pass every year at budget time, and what this will allow us to do is over the course of the next year, if a opportunity arises for a refunding, this will allow the Board of Finance to take advantage of that opportunity without having to go all the way back through the boards and perhaps missing the timing on the opportunity. So we do this every year. It's for the full amount that we have outstanding and covers all of the bond issues that are still active.
Do you have a sense of how much in refunding opportunities we might have in the next fiscal year?
As of right now, we don't have anything, but depending on what interest rates do, we do have some stuff that's been issued at higher rates than we historically had. So if they come down, we might have some opportunities.
Okay.
Hey, Jen, are any of these bonds callable or
The 2000, we usually do a 7-year call. So the earlier ones from 2016, 17, 18, would be callable. Actually, we don't have any 18, so 16 and 17.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay, could I get a motion to approve the resolution appropriating $154,865,000 to refund certain of the town's outstanding bonds and authorizing the issuance of refunding bonds or amounts available in unassigned fund balance to finance such appropriations? Sarah moves, Monica seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay, great, thank you. 4-0. Okay, next up for new business, discuss and take action on a special appropriation of $3 million to fund fiscal year 2026 capital projects. Jennifer.
This is another one that we do annually after the Board of Finance has voted on their budget. They chose, after reviewing fund balance, to do a special appropriation of $3 million into the reserve for capital non-recurring to be applied towards the fiscal 26 capital projects. That way we don't have to raise that amount from taxes. Right now, for a conservative estimate on the current year, we were projecting a surplus of about $3.3 million. So they have chosen to drive most of that back into next year's budget.
Do you, as of June 30th, do you have a sense of what the percentage of fund balance will be for the general fund?
Yes, if that projection holds, we'll be at about 18.5%.
Okay. All right. I was there for that discussion, so all sounds good to me. Any questions on this, Sarah?
Are there any main drivers of the $3 million surplus? It seems high, but it's possible that my memory is not serving me well.
Actually, investment income, unlike prior years, is not a huge driver. Excess tax revenue based on the conservative collection rate, as well as issuing about 150 or 200,000 more than anticipated in supplemental bills. So we're looking in the range of about $900,000 to $1 million on tax collections. So the Board of Finance actually did adjust the assumed collection rate because we were a little uncomfortable collecting that much in excess. So they did bump up the collection rate. And then on the expenditure side, it's really being driven by vacancies. We have currently, I think, about 10 vacancies. So that's creating quite a surplus on the expenditure side.
Thanks.
Other questions on this? Okay, could I get a motion to approve the special appropriation of $3 million to fund the fiscal 2026 capital projects? Marcy moves. Sarah seconds. All in favor? Okay, great. Thanks. All right, for appointments, we have down here the reappointment of town council. Mike Burke is not able to join us tonight for the Board of Selectmen meeting, so I would like to table that until our next meeting. So we will not act on reappointment of town council today. Next up is the appointment of Fred Conzi to the Darien Housing Authority. I'll have the exact term of his office, but we did interview him in executive session. Could I get a motion to appoint Fred Conzi to the Darien Housing Authority? Sarah moves. Monica seconds. All in favor? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, I will follow up with Fred tomorrow. Next up is minutes. Review and approve the minutes for the April 7th, 2025 meeting. I had a chance to go through all these and didn't have any edits. Did anyone catch anything that I missed?
Nope.
Okay, could I get a motion to approve the minutes for the April 7th, 2025 meeting? Marcy moves, Monica seconds, all in favor? Okay. Okay, agenda review. Flood update, nothing for me yet. Patience, please, but I will get to that soon. Flag redesign, I do have an update on that. So we took the top 3 designs from some of the survey work that Harris Cabana did. And I had Linda actually print these flags up at my expense, by the way, so no town money for that. We found a company just to print up some cheap nylon versions of that to see what the flags would look like. And then last week, we put them on the flag poles out here at Town Hall to fly them. And it was great to see the new designs that were being proposed actually up on the poles. So what I'd like to do is at our next meeting, since that'll be in person, is to have Harris come by, talk about those flags. We'll actually bring them to the meeting. And we've got some videos that we took of the flags flying out there, so people will get to see those. So I'll play that video. We're also planning a couple of things, and I will try to get that teed up this week. I'm going to ask Jim Cameron to see if he'd be willing to do a short piece on this, and we could fly the flags again and maybe get a description of what the designs are and try to get some interest there. I'm also going to be calling Molly at the Darien Times to see if she would be interested in doing a quick story on this, just to get the word out that we've got these designs out there. It's quite different. It's one thing to see it on a PDF. It's quite another thing to actually see the flags flying. And they all look terrific. I had a favorite of mine, but they all look pretty good, I have to say. And I look forward to showing you guys the video next week and have Harris come by and talk about those designs and next steps. So unless there are any questions, that's the quick update. Does anyone else have any additions for agenda review that you'd like to talk about? Okay. Upcoming meetings. So tomorrow we have our joint department heads meeting. So that'll be at 8:30 tomorrow morning. And as usual, we'll have half the departments give their full report, in addition to, of course, Public Works, Parks and Rec, and I believe, and Police, just because of the volume of work they have. So that's at 8:30 tomorrow. And then our next full meeting of the board in person will be on Monday, May 5th, 2025. That's it for me. Anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn? Okay, short meeting tonight. Could I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, Sarah moves, Marcy seconds, all in favor. We stand adjourned. Thank you, friends. Have a good evening.